Welcome back to True Life Lessons, where we explore the profound journeys of ordinary people discovering extraordinary truths about living well. This is John, a gentle soul with a heart of gold, yet burdened by a heavy, invisible weight he cannot shake. Every morning begins not with peace, but with a barrage of demands from the world that he feels compelled to answer. He looks at his reflection, seeing a man who gives everything to everyone else, leaving absolutely nothing left for himself today. John possesses a dangerous weakness. He simply cannot say the word no, regardless of how tired or overwhelmed he truly feels. He believes that being a good person means always being available, even if it comes at the cost of his own time. The universe seems to punish his kindness with chaos as he misses his transport and feels the stress levels rising rapidly. At work, he is known as the reliable one, the man who never complains and always takes on the extra workload. His boss sees a willing volunteer, but fails to see a man who is slowly drowning in a sea of obligations. Even his family takes his availability for granted, assuming John will always be there to solve their problems without any hesitation. He has forgotten what it feels like to enjoy a quiet moment, to breathe deeply, or to simply exist without pressure. Days blur into a frantic loop of service to others while his own dreams and needs are pushed into the shadows. He watches the world go by, wondering when it became a crime to prioritize his own happiness and mental well-being. The city lights flicker as he walks home, a solitary figure exhausted by the effort of trying to please everyone around him. Suddenly a small sound breaks through his exhaustion, a cry for help that touches the compassionate core of his weary heart. He discovers a small creature in pain, abandoned and alone, mirroring the way John feels inside his own chaotic and busy life. The connection is instant and profound as two suffering souls find a moment of shared comfort in the middle of the night. But the world does not stop for mercy. His phone rings with another demand, pulling him back into the cycle of obligation. He is torn between the immediate need of this innocent life and the relentless demands of a job that never sleeps. For a brief moment, he prioritizes his heart, rushing the injured animal to safety despite the looming deadline waiting at his home. The vet takes over, but panic sets in as John realizes he has failed to meet the expectations of his demanding boss. When asked to adopt, he freezes, knowing his life is too full of other people's burdens to care for this creature. With a heavy heart, he declines, admitting that he has no space in his life for love, only for endless work. He tries to work, but his mind is elsewhere, stuck on the innocent eyes that looked at him with such pure trust. The silence of his apartment screams at him, forcing him to confront the emptiness of a life lived entirely for other people. He realizes that in trying to please everyone, he has become a stranger to himself, hollowed out by his inability to refuse. The echoes of 1,000 agreements swirl in his mind, a chorus of compliance that has led him to this breaking point. A profound truth strikes him like lightning. Every time he says yes to others, he is saying a painful no to himself. He returns to the clinic, seeing the physical manifestation of his neglect, a creature waiting for a commitment he was afraid to make. Looking through the glass, he decides that today is the day he stops living for others and starts taking responsibility for his life. He signs the papers, not out of obligation, but out of love, naming his new companion Hope, a symbol of his new beginning. Bringing Hope home triggers a chain reaction as John begins to clear the physical clutter that represented his chaotic mental state. The test comes quickly. The phone rings with a request for manual labor, a demand on his time that he would usually accept. For the first time, he speaks the forbidden words, declining the request politely but firmly, protecting his time for his own needs. He braces for a catastrophe that never comes. The world accepts his refusal without anger, and the sky does not fall down. A wave of liberation washes over him, a feeling of lightness he hasn't felt in years, as he reclaims his autonomy. The ultimate challenge awaits at work, where the hierarchy makes the pressure to conform and agree almost impossible to resist. John stands tall, grounding himself in his new truth, ready to establish a boundary that should have been set years ago. He explains that he cannot accept more tasks, choosing to focus on quality and his own capacity rather than blind obedience. There is a moment of tension, a clash of wills, but John remains steadfast, protected by the armor of his self-respect. To his surprise, the boss respects his honesty, recognizing that a focused employee is far more valuable than an exhausted one. He sits down not as a victim, but as a professional who has earned the respect of his peers by respecting himself. Leaving work on time becomes a victory march, a celebration of the boundary between his professional duties and his personal life. He walks into the sunset not to escape his life, but to enjoy it, savoring the simple pleasure of a quiet evening. He has found that the empty space he feared is actually filled with peace, creativity, and the joy of simply being present. Even his relationships have transformed. People learned to solve their own problems, and their connection with John became more authentic. John writes down his greatest lesson, that setting boundaries is not an act of rejection, but a necessary act of self-preservation. The difference is visible in his eyes, his posture, and his spirit. He has moved from surviving the day to thriving in it. He reclaimed the time to nourish his body and his soul, understanding that he cannot pour from a cup that is empty. True friends remained, valuing him for his company rather than his utility, proving that those who matter don't mind his boundaries. The skill of refusal became a tool, a shield that he uses daily to protect his energy from the noise of the world. In caring for Hope, he learned to care for himself, realizing that love requires boundaries and discipline just as much as affection. He looks back at his past self with compassion, grateful for the painful journey that led him to this place of wisdom. We are often taught that giving is a virtue, but giving until we are depleted serves neither ourselves nor those we help. True generosity comes from a place of abundance, not scarcity. We must possess our own time before we can share it effectively. John still helps others, but now he does so by choice, making his acts of kindness more powerful and sincere than before. He has discovered the sanctuary of the inner self, a quiet place that can only be maintained by saying no to distractions. Every door he closes on a demand he doesn't want is a window he opens to a possibility he truly desires. His life now has a rhythm, a cadence of his own making, rather than a chaotic noise dictated by the needs of others. He understands that missing out on social obligations is actually gaining intimate time with his own thoughts and his own personal growth. His calendar is no longer a prison cell of commitments, but a canvas where he paints the life he actually wants to live. He has become a beacon for others, silently teaching them that a well-rested worker is far superior to a busy martyr. The man in the mirror is no longer a stranger, but a friend, a guardian who knows how to protect his own well-being. Under the vast canopy of stars, John realizes that his small life matters, and it is his duty to protect its peace. Time is the only resource we can never get back, and spending it to please others is a price too high to pay. Just like a garden, a life requires weeding out the unnecessary so that the beautiful and essential things have room to bloom. The rush is gone, replaced by a deliberate pace that allows him to savor the texture and color of his daily existence. By doing less, he achieved more, his work improved, his relationships deepened, and his spirit healed from the years of neglect. He learned that the ability to say no is actually the ability to say a deeper, more meaningful yes to what matters. John's story is a reminder to us all that we are the architects of our own boundaries and the guardians of our peace. Start small today. Decline a trivial request, protect a quiet hour, and watch how your life begins to expand with freedom. Release the heavy burden of being everyone's savior. It is not your job to fix the world at the expense of yourself. Take a lesson from John and find the courage to draw your line in the sand for your own sake and sanity. The world will adjust to your boundaries, and you will find that the people who truly love you will respect them deeply. Thank you for watching True Life Lessons. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share the wisdom with a friend.